How do peptides compare to traditional supplements for muscle growth? So I'm Regan Archibald. I'm a peptide expert. I love peptides because I know the selectivity of them. On the flip side, I also love supplements. And one of you asked, you said, well, which one is actually better? So in this video, I'm going to uncover what the difference is between supplements and peptides. I'm also going to share with you a patient success story in how we combine peptides with supplements to help massively increase his muscle mass. And this is a man in his late 60s who hadn't exercised for decades. And if you stick around to the end, I will show you the best ways of stacking peptides with supplements for the best muscle growth possible. So how do we start? Well, the first thing you want to look at is what are the most commonly used supplements when it comes to muscle building. Now, I think the one that we talk about a lot is probably the most research is creatine. Now, creatine, I've got a whole video on it. We'll provide a link in the show notes. But what we find is that if you can use about 20 grams of creatine a day, you're going to see an enormous benefit in muscle growth. Now, where do you get creatine? Well, you can get creatine powder. I like using this creatine called iCell water. CEL. I'm not selling water, but iCell water, and it's made by New BioAge. And what the thing is this very concentrated form of creatine. And then they've added in some extra glycine, an extra 5 grams of glycine and leucine. It's really powerful because if you think about what leucine does, leucine activates mTOR pathways. And in some of the studies, they took elderly patients who had sarcopenia, where they had a muscle wasting disorder, and they gave them high quantities of leucine, and they had a 42% improvement in muscle gain. So very impressive. So that works really well in elderly people. On the flip side, if you look at like beta hydroxybutyrate or some of the ketones, leucine, actually a byproduct of leucine is the production of some of these methylated ketones. And methylated ketones are so powerful. We use some medicinal grade ketones and we find that that actually helps build muscle while hydrating the body, and it keeps you in this ketotic state. And ketosis is when you're burning fat as energy. So these supplements work really well. The other supplements that many of you may use is the beta-alanine, which helps hydrate the muscles similar to the way creatine does. But it also is really good for flushing out excess lactic acid. It helps with metabolism, so you can get some nice muscle health that way. And then, of course, there's the protein synthesis. There's the protein like collagen, there's protein powders. But how does that stack up to peptides? Because, I covered some very nuanced supplements that you can utilize to help enhance your overall production of muscle mass. But do they hold up to peptides? So as I dove into the research, there's a few peptides that we'll cover. And one of these peptides that many of you know is called CJC1295. And this is 27 amino acid chains, and it works on the growth hormone pathway. And what they found is that the CJC1295, when it came to hypertrophy or muscle growth, they found that participants that used CJC1295 had a greater expression of muscle building, but not only muscle building, they had more fast twitch muscle fibers. So they were activating all the different muscle fibers, the slow twitch, the fast twitch, in unique ways that supplements didn't really touch. The other peptide that they looked at was ACE-031. And this was fascinating because they found that even in these postmenopausal women, they're able to have a global increase in this lean muscle mass by about 4%. And that was substantial because it was in such a short period of time. And what they found, even if they're using peptides or supplements like the leucine or the creatine, the gains from leucine and creatine would take about a year to have the same kind of response as you would with ACE-031. The other thing that they looked at is using gonadorelin and kispectin, working on those testosterone pathways. And they found that by using those, you could activate your body's own natural testosterone production, and therefore you could hold on to muscle mass even better. Now, if you compare that with something like Vidosia agresta or Tongkat Ali, Tongkat Ali had a little bit of benefit, and there's differing qualities of this particular plant, but they found with Fedosia agresta, it was comparable, but not nearly what the results are with like gonadotropin or the kisspectin. So when you're looking at, okay, well, do I use supplements or do I use peptides for muscle growth? And really it depends on what your overall outcomes are. My goal, my obsession is how can I get my clients as healthy as possible in the shortest amount of time possible without risking future health. And that's where I just find that peptides are by far a better leverage for building optimized muscle, not only muscle mass, but muscle health. And that includes your proprioception, like especially when you use MOD-SC, which is expressed by the skeletal muscles, you'll have better endurance, but you'll have better selectivity as far as how your feet feel on the ground. You'll have better hand-eye coordination. IGF-1, so the peptide IGF-1 LR3, you'll see a much greater level of your body's grip strength from IGF-1. You'll also see a greater level of deep sleep and a greater level of recovery. When you add in peptides like BPC-157, thymosin beta-4, you'll notice the angiogenic properties of these peptides. It's just really hard to match that. Yes, you can take the urolithin A, you can take ubiquinol, you can also add in like methylene blue for that electron transport chain. But without the peptides, without like using MOD-SC, 5-amino-1-MQ, even SS31, you still can have that buildup of oxidative stress, which can damage your cardiovascular system. And that's where BPC-157, thymosin beta-4, utilized with these mitochondrial peptides is just phenomenal. So when I look at it globally, yes, you need the raw materials. You've got to eat really healthy. But if you're somebody who's over about 40 years old, maybe 45, and you push yourself hard, you love competing, maybe you're, we have some professional pickleball players, maybe you're out there on the court, you just really want to dominate, or maybe you're like my clients who are NBA players, or you're just an executive and you're just like, man, I really want to be the fittest version of myself. That's where bringing these worlds together, where you use supplements and you use peptides, but you use it sequentially where you don't have to take a mountain of supplements anymore, and you can just take a small quantity of peptides. That's when you'll see the greatest levels of muscle health, muscle expression, proprioception, meaning hand-eye coordination, and you'll also notice that you recover better and hold on to the muscle mass. Okay, so if you're wondering, do I use supplements or do I use peptides for muscle growth? Well, think of supplements as being kind of a broad brushstroke. They help build up deficiencies, they give you the raw material that you need, and then as long as your digestive system and everything's working great in your body, you can get the muscle mass from the supplements. Whereas with peptides, you want to think of those as very targeted, optimizing very specific pathways. So if you're into precision and you really want to move the needle and have leverage when it comes to muscle building, then peptides are by far the way to go. You'll get there faster, you'll get there safer, and it will be sustainable as long as you've got the right lifestyle to go along with it. And the way that we choose the peptide stack for you, based on what your goals are, assuming it's to build muscle mass, we'll run your blood labs. You can go to agelessfuture.com and click on the link there, and my team will help find a local LabCorp or get a phlebotomist to your house. And let's look at the labs. We'll also do a gut analysis. We'll want to look at genetics. And then we can put the right peptide protocol together for you, because you'll want to cycle these peptides working on different pathways at different times. And that's how you can create the momentum needed to have the physique that you've always wanted. And if you love what I've shared with you on peptides and want to go deeper, then I provided a link just for you in the show notes, and that will take you to my video on the best peptides for muscle growth. And I'll see you there.